So today's story is called Ben Rides On by Matt Davies. And I chose this book because when I was at the library, I was just looking through the shelves and I saw this really cool illustration. And then I opened the book up just really to the middle. That's usually what I do, to just kind of see if I thought the illustrations were as cool on the inside as the out. And I really liked the way that the author drew. So then I got the book and I brought it home, and before I read it for a video, I read it on my own. And I really liked the message of the story, and I had some connections to it. And I wonder if you guys will too. So, Ben Rides On by Matt Davies. Now, we have talked, Ben Rides On by Matt Davies, there's the title page, about how authors typically do a dedication. And this book is dedicated, it says, for Ben. And I wondered if Ben was Matt Davies' son or someone else that he knew. But look at, that's a really cool picture. But I also look at this. The author has a message, and it says, in books, kids can do crazy things, like haul Adrian Underbite up a cliff and ride a bicycle without protecting their heads. In real life, you should always remember to wear your helmet when riding your bike. I loved it that the author thought it was important to give you guys a message about how you should ride your bike. Now that he had the bicycle of his dreams, Ben Lucan loved going to school. With his gleaming new machine, he could take the long way. So it says Watson Elementary School this way, and there he goes. Or perhaps the very long way. What in the world? Down a drain? And maybe the very long way. Oh my word, shark fins over school buses. This kind of reminds me, there's this guy called Evel Knievel, and he used to use his motorcycle and jump over school buses. And so I think that's what Matt Davies was alluding to. It was arriving at school that Ben hated. Sadly, Adrian Underbite, perhaps the world's largest third grader, didn't seem to like Ben very much. But Adrian did like nice things. Oh, so look at, he pushes him right off of this bike, and then he rides it away. After watching Adrian ride off on his prized possession, Ben was devastated and late for class. As his teacher explained that the earth revolved around the sun, Ben's thoughts revolved around his bike and seeking revenge against Adrian. When the school bell finally rang, Ben began his journey home on foot. He hadn't gone far when he heard a very peculiar sound, which caused him to launch an immediate investigation. Whereupon he quickly discovered the stolen bike, and also Adrian. Now, look at this. There's a storm cloud here. That's interesting. Who appeared to be in a significant spot of trouble. I'd say. How extraordinarily terrible, Ben thought to himself. Ben dusted off the bent-up bicycle and continued on his way, satisfied that Adrian would perilously dangle from a tree branch for all eternity. But something made him stop. Can you predict what made him stop? What would make you stop in something like that? Because your mom called you home for dinner? Because you saw something shiny on the side of the road? And just when Adrian thought he could not hold on any longer, a very familiar green and white hoodie appeared. Adrian reached up and grabbed on for dear life. Hauling the big galoot proved to be a challenge. But Ben pulled Adrian to safety, with some help from a friend. Oh, yeah, I guess this crow must be his friend. He was on most pages, right? Exhausted, Adrian slowly rose to his size 10 feet and appeared momentarily to be quite puzzled. Then suddenly, without warning, he lunged like an airborne walrus toward his rescuer. While Ben braced for the horrible impact, Adrian made off with the damaged bike. Ben couldn't believe it. Worn out and feeling a bit sick, he turned and headed for home. Ben didn't get much sleep that night. The following morning, he still had only one thing on his mind. The very thing that someone had carefully leaned against his front gate. Can you guess who? And it had been repaired almost perfectly. So one of the things that I loved about this book is when I read it the first time, I so thought right away as soon as Ben rescued Adrian. So let's see, let's go back to that page. So I thought right after he rescued him on this page, I thought Adrian was just gonna say, I'm so sorry, I've been a horrible person. And then when he lunged at him, I thought, okay, maybe he's giving him a hug. But the book totally surprised me when he took off with his bike. And then I started making some predictions of my own. Like I thought, well, is this just a lesson where Ben has to learn to be nice to people even when they're not nice to him? And I wondered, one of the things that I wondered was, what's going to happen to this broken bike though? It's not like Ben could drive the broken bike. And I liked that the author answered that in a really cool way. The author showed that Adrian wanted to fix the problem that he had made. I also really liked in this book the way that the author used a storm cloud to show Adrian, because you know what, I'll be honest with you, Adrian is a bully. Adrian is someone who is rude to other people because he thinks it's going to make him feel good, but you can tell it's not making him feel good, is it? Now, the last thing, you'll notice probably that I had this sticky note on this page, and it was because when I was reading, I got to this word, and this is a word, I don't know if I've ever seen it before. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, I am not quite sure how to say this. And so what I had to do is I had to chunk it out. So I thought, okay, I know this word. I've seen it before. This is gal, right? It rhymes with pal. If I know the word pal, I know the word gal. And then I look at this and I think, okay, I can use my chunks that I know. And I know O says ooh, and then t. So galoot. Put it together, gal-oot, galoot. So when I read it, hauling the big galoot proved to be a challenge. And I don't know what the word galoot is, but I can make a really good guess. What do you predict that the word galoot means?